We're gonna have a whole lot of fun. And it's one.
All right, that's enough of Country Joe. I'm worried about this song. So Larry Kudlow of Kudlow Reports, take Joe way down. I don't know whether that version is that you have. When you're dealing with younger people, Larry, they don't have the memory we do of how the 60s could go suddenly very rough. Larry Kudlow, who attended Woodstock, but we're now debating something that's much more challenging of what's going to happen to us in the Vietnam War, which is the Federal Reserve and its task of this buoyant Wall Street, S&P 500 above 2,000 for the first time. At the same time, we have a strong dollar, and the Federal Reserve is watching the oil and gold market moderate, not pop up. And that means that there's confidence on Wall Street that the Federal Reserve is going to move carefully and cautiously and conservatively to tighten rates. And Larry, I mentioned to you and to Michael, and I'd like you both to comment, that Stanley Fischer, who's the vice chair of the Federal Reserve, he was at the IMF and the Bank of Israel, says that he has tools to manage interest rates. Is Stanley Fischer also indicating that they know that higher rates next year are expected and are healthy?
Well, Fischer actually, in his speech before Jackson Hole, was rather gloomier. All right, he sounded like Larry Summers in secular stagnation, something that I don't agree with. Your reading of the markets is correct. Gold and oil down, stocks are up. That means the market basically is saying to the Fed, you can change. You can change as long as it's gradual. Now, your last point is very interesting. I believe that they're not going to use the traditional target, which is something called the federal funds rate. I believe they're going to use the interest rate on excess bank reserves. There's nearly $3 trillion at 25 basis points currently, and I think that's where the Fed is going to go, excess reserves.
Michael, would you like to comment on Mr. Fisher's idea of tools to manage interest rates?
I agree with that. In addition, the issue is whether they're going to go back to using the Fed funds rate, as Larry indicated, as they did prior to the crisis, but it's been stuck at pretty close to zero now for years. And they basically have three things that they've indicated they might do. One, as Larry said, is pay higher interest on reserves at the Federal Reserve, bank reserves of the Federal Reserve. So banks have this $3 trillion of extra reserves sitting there that they're not lending. This is a result of the Fed in buying long-term treasuries, for example, and mortgage-backed securities. So what happens? The banks aren't loaning it out. So now the Fed will, to prevent it from getting into the economy too rapidly and causing inflation, the Fed would raise this 25 basis points to a higher number. And if it got to a market rate, eventually maybe to 3-4% over time. If it got up anywhere substantial, the Fed would be giving, not lending, the banks tens of billions of dollars on these excess reserves, which would be, in my view, politically very difficult to sustain. Now, they'd be getting that interest from on their long-term treasury holdings, but I think that would be very difficult politically. Their other two tools are, this is getting kind of technical to explain, but using reverse repos, and finally what they call macroprudential regulation, which is basically their oversight and supervision of the banks, just telling them not to lend, which they did in the early stages of causing them to recapitalize when we probably could have used more bank lending to counteract the cyclical weakness in the economy. We've had this supervision by the bank regulators being too permissive in the booms and too tight in the busts. So we don't want to try that over again, in my opinion. So these are some additional tools. They also have what you mentioned earlier, what Larry mentioned, their so-called forward guidance by telling us what they expect to do in the future. And by telling us what they expect to do in the future about short-term rates, they can influence long-term rates to some extent. And they've used that for the last several years, and the feeling inside the Federal Reserve is that has been somewhat effective. That's debatable,
really
but those are the sets of things they're going to use, and I think Larry's right. They'll start by raising interest rates on excess reserves, but I don't think they'll be able to get them too high.
Larry?
I just want to say, John Batzer, my view, Michael Boskin there may not agree. the interesting part about this story, raising rates on excess reserve, raising rates through overnight Treasury bill reverse RPs. No one knows whether these experiments will work. They don't know. Staff will tell you from the Fed they're not sure. And so we're going to go into some uncharted territory next year. Remember, QE ends in October. All right? That's over. No more bond buying. Now the market will wait for the interest rate signals. And the fact of the matter is the Fed doesn't know if this thing's going to work out.
I think that's a fair assessment that this is something of an experiment, a little bit of uncharted territory. It's also unclear when they'll start telling us what will happen beyond the end of the taper in the fall of this quantitative easing, this extraordinary buying of long-term treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. Will they eventually sell? Will they hold to maturity? Will they reinvest? They've kind of given a little bit of hints at that, but they haven't provided a real clear path about that either. I do agree that when they finally do start to signal, whether that's in the September meeting or the next one or the one after that, but sometime soon, Wall Street will hang on every dot and twiddle of every phrase, every dotting of an I and crossing of a T, and any hint of moving toward slightly more hawkish stance, slightly sooner raising of rates, etc. Anything of that sort, while I think that the markets are saying we can handle that done with some notice and done gradually, et cetera, I think it'll take a little bit of the air out of the markets when it first happens.
Larry, I just want to check and make sure I have the formula right. A stronger dollar, which would result from tightening the rates, will attract overseas investors, and that's a lot of new money for Wall Street. That's a reason to go higher, not lower.
Traditionally, it is, John. I completely agree. It'll also put a lid on the inflation rate, and it's a very good signal. I would just like to shift to the supply side.
We have 30 seconds, Larry. Go ahead.
You want to give business confidence, slash the corporate tax rate. You see the big inversion discussion with Warren Buffett taking part. Slash the corporate tax rate, and you'll give the whole economy and business a lot of confidence.
Michael,
absolutely the
please.
single best supply-side measure we have available right now.
And that is not in the Federal Reserve's hands, correct, gentlemen? That's over in politics land. Michael Boskin, who served with the George H.W. Bush administration, he's now a professor, T.M. Friedman Professor of Economics at Stanford University, as well as a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution. Larry Kudlow of CNBC and Kudlow Radio on the Weekend. I'm John Batchelor.